Minimalism is a word like impressionism or expressionism. It was taken from painting and sculpture and applied to music. In this case, it was taken from the works of artists like Sol LeWitt, maybe Frank Stella, people like that. And I think Michael Nyman, who you know is a composer, but he was also a writer on music, actually originated the term somewhere in the late 1960s. And I think it has the same use as Impressionism and Expressionism. I think if you and I went to Paris and we dig up Claude Debussy and we say, "Excusez-moi, monsieur, est-ce que vous impressionniste?" I think he says, "Merde," and goes back to sleep. I think it's a useful term for musicologists, music historians, music critics, as a way of referring to myself and Phil Glass and Terry Riley and Lamont Young and maybe John Adams, at least the early works, and maybe the Europeans, Arvo Pärt, even aspects of Louis Andriessen in your country, and other people. But I think it's the kind of talking that should not be done by musicians, because it's like describing yourself as putting yourself in a box, and I'll wait till I'm dead to be put in a box. Music for 18 musicians, Reinbert must self-destruct. Reinbert, don't get insulted. It's not a piece to be conducted. The conductor can play piano, and I hope that Reinbert will play one of the piano parts. The conductor can begin the rehearsals and coach the ensemble, but eventually the conductorial duties are taken over, and this was one of the raison d'etre of Music for 18 musicians, by the vibraphone player and by the first bass clarinet. Every time the vib player plays, he's giving a signal to the ensemble. Get set, now change. And everybody changes right at that point. Now, where did that idea come from? Well, it came from West African drumming and Balinese gamelan, where you don't have a conductor, but you do have rather large ensembles, especially with the gamelan. You can have 30, 35 people playing. How do they know how to change tempo? Well, there are two drummers who are sitting on the floor, and if they start to play a little bit faster, everybody knows, okay, here we go, and they follow them. So these guys are playing conductors. West African music, the master drummer will play a kind of changing pattern, usually very simple, just something he would never play, just straight eighth notes, which everybody says, okay, get set, here it comes, and then he plays a new pattern, and then everybody plays a new response, which they know is appropriate for that new pattern that he's playing, and then he begins to improvise on that. That's a different way of organizing music. So that's one kind of change. The other change that the bass clarinet player makes is when you're making kind of what I would call a soft change, where it doesn't have to be here, it has to be somewhere in here. And if you're here, it's okay. If you're here, it's okay. Here, it's okay, okay. Here, not okay. Here, not okay. But in that area, you have a little leeway. And the way he does that is he's playing and he'll just take a breath and pick up his instrument. Everybody, wow, okay. And they change somewhere as he lowers the instrument. And that's nice because you have a kind of, I wanted this kind of, we call it in harmony, suspensions, where the old notes of the previous chord are held over and the new notes begin to change, and finally they all change. And they're built to do that. So the bass clarinetist has the other kind of changes. Now the conductor tells the musicians about this, and if they play bass clarinet, well, wonderful. If they play vibraphone, well, wonderful. If not, they can play any one of the other instruments. So after about 3 or 4 rehearsals, Reinbert must become part of the ensemble. Thank you.